Hey everybody, and welcome to another What's Next. I kind of wanted to start my Magic content with something more introductory, but with Amonkhet dropping, well, it's not really dropping, pre-release this coming Saturday, midnight, Friday, whatever, however you want to look at it. I did want to take an opportunity and kind of do a What's Next on Amonkhet, because I'm really excited about it. There's a couple things that I still haven't seen, so I just wanted to go through the spoilers that we've seen so far. I think they're all out at this point. I just wanted to take a look at them. We're gonna go through them together. I want to throw out a huge shout out to Mythic Spoiler. They've been my go-to for a long time, as far as since I've been back in it since about cons. They've been where I go for all of my various spoiler needs. So just a kind of a public shout out. I'm not endorsed by them or anything. I just appreciate what they do, and it's the site that I go to most often when I do look for spoilers. Anyway, using that resource, I kind of want to go through some of the larger things that this set has to offer. We see the return of gods, which is really neat. They're not enchantments, which is kind of disappointing. Theros had a huge impact with their enchantment gods, but that's not to say that these gods are any less useful. So they're in all 5 colors, just like they should be. A little bit of the flavor of each color in them. For instance, the white has double strike indestructible, very white things, and it can't attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures, which is a very Boros thing. Kind of neat to see in just a singular white card. But it's kind of nice to see that embodied. We also get to create a 1/1 warrior, because all of these are relatively low cost. It looks like the highest cost is 4 in the white and red. Every other god costs about 3, and they all have a cost that you can pay to do something very within flavor. For instance, the white creates a white warrior creature token with vigilance. So, they all have a little bit of that. They also can't attack or block unless you have, very color specific things. Like I said, 3 creatures. The blue is 7 or more cards in hand, very blue thing. Unless a creature died under your control this turn, which pairs super well with the whole revolt trigger thing out of Aether Revolt. So that's kind of neat. Anyway, that's kind of how the gods are functioning. Yeah, that's super powerful. 4/6 for 3. You get to attack if you have an. That's an incredible card. Anyway. Sorry, just kind of gazing over these. Some of these I haven't seen. I think the last god that I saw was the red one. Wasn't all that impressed with it, so I just kind of passed over gods in general because I only saw that. I haven't looked at these spoilers in a while. Like I said, this is pretty much me just taking a cursory glance at them, kind of giving reactions and kind of what they're going to do and how they're going to be as we move forward. So it's a very personal moment for me. I wanted to share that with you guys. Yeah, so that black god, definitely something to look for. Green player, so I should throw that out. I like to look at what those have to offer, so, and I'm a little skewed because I'm not a huge blue player, not a huge fan. Obviously, there's some cards in here that make me want to change that a little bit. There were some cards in Kaladesh and Aether Revolt that made me want to change that. Just wanted to throw that out there and be on that same level with you guys. I'll try to be as biased as possible. I mean, you see already black cards my focus, which is really cool. I'm going to try, as I edit this, to throw some images of that card up. Again, it's going to be provided by what we have on Mythic Spoiler, which I'm sure they just get from Gatherer, so not really much copyright going on there. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to try to save Planeswalkers for last because there's a lot of varied opinions on those, so just something I want to kind of save till the end. I'm going to try to throw timestamps in here as well because this is going to be a long video. There's 269 cards in this set. Obviously, I don't plan on covering all of them. Just kind of card that really sticks out to me that's not a Planeswalker or a god is As Foretold. It's an enchantment for 3 cost, 2 and a blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on it, and once per turn you pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell you cast with converted mana cost equal to the number or time counters. Equal to the number of time counters on As Foretold. So it's kind of like that Brain in a Jar, Aether Vial kind of deal, except there's not that way to take any counters off. So it's more of the Bard from M15, a little less flexible in how you can use it. I mean, Flicker looks like it's not, coming back, but it's enough right now that you might be able to do some cool things with that. And as foretold, I very much like it as a spell, and I think I'm going to use it despite my inherent not loving blue. Glorious End. Wow. So you end the turn at instant speed, so you can end your opponent's turn for 3, and then at the beginning of your next end step, you lose the game. So you stop them from... Glorious End, also a cool card. Oh, I really, really want that, actually. Oh my god. It's fantastic. For 3, it's like split second is better. Oh my god. Anyway, we have some trials, which are neat. Actually, I don't think I've seen... I think I might have seen one trial. Trials have, looks like a kind of... what do you want to call it? Synergy with cartouches, which is really neat. It has, their enchantments. They give buffs when they enter. And then when a cartouche enters, you can return it to your hand and obviously be able to play it again. Get a little bit of that synergy. Like I said a little bit earlier, nothing fantastic. They're at the uncommon level. Definitely something that can help your play. I feel like it would have a super big boost if you draft like a trial cartouche deck for your pre-release. I think it'd be pretty cool. Something to see. It probably won't get you very far, but it's something I would probably mess with if I got enough of them. Just kind of neat. So that's how trials work. They're going to give a buff when they enter their enchantments, and when a cartouche enters, you obviously bring them back. Cartouches, I guess, are important to talk on that note. So they're going to be auras. They're going to attach to creatures. They also do things when they enter and give, looks like, very color specific buffs to the creature that it has. For example, red has haste, green has trample, white has first strike. Very color specific buffs, and +1/+1. They only cost up to 3, and the trials, of course, only cost up to 4. Okay. The blue trial being, because it lets you draw 3 cards, discard a card. It's a pretty good loot for 3, so I can see why they have that at 4. So that's kind of how cartouches and trials are going to work. You can kind of see how they work together. They're kind of neat. Yeah, they look like they work really well together, but there's not much you can do beyond, playing a trial twice or 3 times, depending on how many cartouches you have. Probably not something you're going to want to do in limited or, pre-release, but it's definitely something you can probably try. Constructed goes. Something fun to do if you're looking for that. I like to do fun things. I'm not a huge fan of completely meta picks. Of course, I delve into those at times. Delve, magic terms. I can make those jokes now. But just something that you can look forward to. That's right. Cycling's really cool. For those of you that are newer Magic players, I guess now's a good time to talk about the new lands. You're gonna think they're really shitty, and I understand. I was new, and then I was new again, so I very much understand why you think that, oh, it enters tapped every time. That sucks, but it also has cycling on it, which is amazing. Obviously, it has better synergies with some of the other formats, but it's really neat to be able to pay 2 and draw a card. Obviously, you're going to discard a land, but it's not doing much if it enters tapped anyway. So don't discount cycling. It's a cool mechanic. I'm really glad they brought it back into standard. It lets a lot of newer players see the benefits that it does have, and you can do it at instant speed. So it's something that you can kind of finish off your opponent's turn doing if you have some open mana. Do not discount cycling, please. Keep your lands. Don't trade them. I mean, if you're super new and you don't have any collection, and this is like the first set that you've ever had, then maybe, yeah, do it to build your collection a bit, but make sure you're getting something out of it. Don't do 1-for-1 or 1-for-2 trades. Make sure you're getting a solid expansion of your own collection if you're going to trade away these lands. They do have value, and later on in your Magic life, I mean, if this isn't a passing fad for you, then you're definitely going to want to use them, whether it be in your standard constructed or any other format kind of constructed. So there's my brief touch on cycling's back and rant to new players, which I don't know why you're watching this if you're new. I'm not the most reliable source of anything, but I guess if you're watching, just go nuts. So cycling's back. Um, so you enchant a player. So it's kind of, oh, it's curse. Curses are back. Yes. It's a curse. So at the beginning of an enchanted player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, and if the player can't, they lose 5 life, which is super cool. Let's say you're playing a red-black deck, and you also happen to have end turn or Glorious End. Sorry, I just call it end turn because that's freaking amazing. So you can have their upkeep. They can sack their creature. Let's say it's their last creature. We can go ahead and end their turn. Not allow them to do that. Or they lost 5 life. You just end their turn because they don't have any creatures or planeswalkers, and then you just kind of steamroll over them. Kind of a cool synergy there. Combat Celebrant. That's a cool card. Easy to remove. But it kind of really takes advantage of that exert, and it allows you to unexert a lot of the things that you already have exerted and tapped. Kind of something cool to look at, and you get that additional combat step. So that's kind of a neat red thing, and it's finally affordable. It's at a 3 cost. Obviously, there's a little more to it than that, but it allows you a little more room to be able to actually have something that's semi-affordable and be able to take that second combat step, which is something we haven't seen in a while. Shit. Sandworm Conversion. Oh, it costs 8. I won't use that, and I'm not going to talk about it because I won't use it. Sorry. That's my large rule, and obviously there's some really good cards that cost a little bit more, and if you're building ramp, I highly encourage you to look at it. But as a general rule, I try not to talk about anything that's costs more than 7 mana. Even 7 mana sometimes I have a hard time talking about. So that's what we're going to do. Again, go to Mythic Spoiler. It's their homepage right now because Amonkhet's the most recent set that's being spoiled. You can take a look at all of these, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's kind of neat, but it's too expensive. Mind Sensor, cool thing. If an opponent would search the library, that player searches the top 4 cards of that library instead. Hey, Dispossess, cool card. It's a sorcery, so a little bit of a downside there, but you can choose an artifact and card name. You can search graveyard, hand, library for any number of the cards with that name and then exile them. So really kind of cool to take out vehicles. Obviously it's in black, so it's still within that Mardu. It'd be really good against the mirror match. But it's something that I think might take vehicles down a notch, which is actually really neat. So that's Dispossess. I like that card. I don't know why we're just going through and say, oh, I like that card, but I feel like some of them are really important things that I want to talk about. Shit. All right, Gideon's Intervention. Cool enchantment. As it enters, you choose a card name. Your opponent can't cast spells with that name, and you can prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control by sources with the chosen name. Obviously, something you're going to want to do, name, permanents if you're going to prevent damage, or not being able to cast that spell is actually really amazing. So you can go ahead and do that. That's really neat. Okay, Shadow of the Grave. It's instant speed, and you can return to your hand all cards in your graveyard that you cycled or discarded this turn. So really good synergy with the cycling that we see, and what was it? Cycling a lot of the discard synergies that we see in Standard right now. Neat card. I want to say 10 out of 10, but that's an exaggeration. I know it, and that's not what I meant to say. So, something we should talk about as well is Embalm. It's really cool. It's really cool. It's like flashback for creatures, which I think is cool. So yeah, that's all I have. Is it's like flashback for creatures. More tokens. You can create twice that many tokens. Yay, token decks. I wanted to talk about Cat Snake. One, because it's a cat snake, like fucking cool, right? Prowling Serp. We're just gonna call it Cat Snake. It can't be countered, and creature spells you control can't be countered either. Really cool for fair decks. Granted, with a lot of the other cards that I've seen, I was really intrigued to see it. I really liked what it was, but now seeing how it does benefit mostly fair decks and the lack of potential there is for fair decks, I think that's something that obviously is pretty good in like fair modern decks, but it's not something that's going to see a huge impact in Standard right now. Apparently, you win the games is one card that Riot wants. Oh, god damn it. Wizards, because we're not talking about League this episode. Something that Wizards wants to put into Standard. If I said Riot, okay, fun challenge. If you can find another place in the video where I said Riot instead of Wizards, let's say I'll give away $5 in RP or a booster pack. You know, I mean, if you're a Magic lover, the booster pack. If you're a League lover, the RP. If you're both, then I'm not going to give you both, but you get to pick one. Anyway, first person in the comments, I'll respond if I think you're right, and then we'll IM from there, and we'll see how we can get you your reward. There we go. Oh, -1/-1 counters on things. That's really cool. It's not really undying or anything like that, but -1/-1 card counters on green-black makes it kind of a cool synergy again. It's not as straightforward as a lot of the green-black decks in Standard right now are. Something to look forward to. Did we talk about Exert? We kind of talked about Exert. I mentioned it in passing. So you tap that creature, it doesn't untap during the next untap step, and then you get buffs for doing it. So that's Exert. It's really cool. I like what it does. It's kind of a neat mechanic, kind of like Embalm. Like I said, I kind of like both of them. But those are the big ones. Now we're getting into commons and uncommons, which kind of just talk about a lot of the cool things that we've seen in the higher rarities. We almost missed Aftermath. Aftermath is a super cool thing that I see. It's like alternate cost flashback, I guess. Very, very flashback, but not quite things going on in Amonkhet, which I think is pretty cool. I've just started building a healthy respect for flashback. So seeing that, you know, there's alternate flashbacks kind of, because that's the best. So it's kind of neat to see going forward. Also, a neat trick that a friend told me is there's 2 meant to be put into these Dusk to Dawn. Commit to memory, never to return, insult to injury, mouse to feed. Yeah, it's just kind of cool. One of those things that Wizards, put in the game to kind of make things cool. Make things funny. I don't know why they did it. I find it funny. I like chuckling at them, which is kind of neat. It's something we haven't seen in a whole while. Wizards has taken this lead to multicolored perspectives, but to see a monocolored focused set is really neat. Again, artifacts looks like just monuments. Cow, Throne of the God Pharaoh, neat card. At the beginning of your for 2, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. That's really cool. All right, I can respect that card. Solid. And Pyramid of the Pantheon, good ramp. That's about it. Counters are cool things. Brick counters are cool things. Other than that, monuments, cool, I guess. They help mono-colored creatures, and whenever you cast a creature spell, you get to do things based on them. They're actually pretty cheap. They're all 3. They're uncommon, and they don't do terrible things. I mean, they'd be kind of neat cards to have. Lands, we kind of talked about the cycling lands already. Kind of a couple of cool mana fixing options there in Standard. 1 common rarity, which is really neat. Ooh, a reprint of Evolving Wilds. Actually, that's really cool art. I'm not going to dig on that, but I'm sick of seeing Evolving Wilds. Anyway, so we have a full art set and a few not full art sets. So I don't know how they're going to do the full arts. I'm not going to make speculation on that. Like I said, I think it's just Wizards trying to make more money. So good on them, I guess. They're really cool looking. Like, don't get me wrong, and they all have, you know, Bolas's. I don't even know what to call it. I haven't. Invocations. Invocations are pretty neat. I don't know how I feel about them. I keep going back and forth. They're neat art, I guess. They're just made for Commander and some of the more eternal formats. Obviously outside of Modern, so I don't really know how to feel about a lot of them. They're hard to read, the names. The art's really cool. It looks neat-ish. I'd like to see him in foil. I'd like to see an actual copy of him. But I'm kind of going back and forth on how I feel. I'm not quite sure. I like how it's in the flavor, but other than that, yeah, they're okay. Just because I said I was gonna talk about them at the end. Um, really cool stuff here. I saved it to the end to hope that maybe you watch through it and get something out of the other parts. But if you, so let's talk about Gideon. I think he's been one of the biggest kind of talking points out of this set. So until your next turn, prevent all damage to target permanent that would be dealt. Would deal. Target permanent would deal. That's his +1. He starts with 3 loyalty counters, and he's 1 and 2 white. His 0 is he becomes a 4/4 human soldier with indestructible. That's still a planeswalker. Still a planeswalker, which is really cool because then you can still not make, but have opponents sack planeswalker. Anyway, and you would prevent all damage that would be dealt to him. His other 0, I guess, is where a lot of the talking point comes in. Is you get an emblem with as long as you control a Gideon planeswalker, you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. I think with Mardu vehicles, I've said it a lot, so I feel like I've said it to you guys too. But seeing as Mardu vehicles is, it doesn't have a whole lot of extra sustain to it. It just gives it a lot more of a sticking point into the future. So it's something that we can look forward to. I'd like to see how it's played. I'm not a professional by any means, so I'm watching alongside to see just how these all affect. Like I said, these are just kind of my first impressions, a little bit of a look, so you guys can take a look and see some of the cool things that are coming out. Next, let's take a look at Liliana, just because she's highest on the page, and because I really want to look at her a little bit closer. I really like what I saw to begin with. So she's 3 and 2 black, 5-cost planeswalker. We're getting into the realm of normal planeswalkers. Her +1 is create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, and then put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. 1, holy crap, delirium, and 2, yeah, it's a solid +1 ability for black in general. Whether you're looking at Dredge or Delve's not popular anymore, but Delve or like I said, just even Delirium. That's kind of cool how they all start with D. Anyway, so it's just a really solid +1 for those kind of decks. It's something we can look forward to. Her -3, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other types. Holy shit, super cool. If you discard something or you find out discarding something or any you end up milling to, and it's great anti-mill. It's great. Anything, it allows you to put some of those more power picks into your graveyard and be able to reanimate them faster. She starts with 5 loyalty counters, so it's something you can do right away if you already have something in your graveyard that you want to take out. Really, really neat. And then her -7 is destroy all non-zombie cards. Creatures. So, yeah. Really cool. Very Lily, but also very helpful to black. So I really like what they did with that Planeswalker card. I'm excited, again, to kind of see where that goes and what people that are much better at this game do with it. And I can mimic or modify as I see fit moving forward. The last one, my favorite, Nissa, unfortunately, is in that multicolored, so we have to scroll down a bit. She is an X-cost blue-green, well, green-blue, but whatever, planeswalker who is, I think, super, super cool. I'm really excited. Her +2 is Scry 2. Obviously, she comes in with X loyalty counters. That's where the X comes in. Her 0 is look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card or a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on her, you can put that card onto the battlefield. So that's actually really, really solid if you put enough mana into it earlier. Just scry a bunch until then. Super, super cool. I don't like how she's a blue planeswalker and then a green planeswalker, but seeing as her cost is green, blue, maybe they did that just because she's Nissa. But I think the way that they set up her abilities, she's more blue green. Um, Obviously, her alt's more green centered, so maybe that's why. But I know maybe Wizards doesn't put that much time into it, but I like to think that they do. Her -6 is on tap up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elemental creatures with flying and haste until end of turn, and they're still lands. Drawbacks. It costs 6 to make 2 5/5s flying haste, but they're only still the end of the turn, and they're still lands. That's actually honestly a little disappointing. I'm not excited that much for her ult, but her +2 and her 0 are something that I think is going to make her worthwhile. Obviously, her -6 is going to be a game changer, but it's not as impactful as a lot of ults could be, which I think is really neat of Wizards. I think they've focused too much on the ults, and newer players especially focus a lot on the ults of Planeswalkers, when in reality those are abilities that you don't see a whole lot. So if there's super game changing out, it's really cool. But if they're the only reason that you play that Planeswalker, it's not really worth it. So I think those are my rants. Those are a brief kind of overview of the set. It took forever, but Magic is a lot more in depth of a game than League sometimes. Granted, League has its times where you can really delve in and talk about a lot of the intricacies of it, but Magic on the basis, when you just look at it from an outside perspective, has a lot more to it. So that's why the what's next is a little longer. Plus, the what's next is every 3 months instead of every 2 weeks. So took a little extra time. Wanted to talk about some of the major mechanics. Not too many cards in particular that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, a couple impactful ones that really caught my eye. Again, Mythic Spoiler is a great site. That's where I go. That's where this whole video is based off of. Again, I say it too much for them not to be sponsoring me, but they're not. And yeah, until the next one, I really do appreciate it. I should have a what's next coming out for League. I think the new 7.8 patch should be coming out soon. That'll be exciting. It's something I'd want to cover. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I really do appreciate it. Thank you for, if you did watch to the end, putting up with all the Magic stuff if you're a League player, and just my random ramblings. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.